41 after the hour, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Join in the conversation, 615-737-9986. You can also hit us up on the Super Text line. We are joined in studio by Senate Majority Leader Jack Johnson. Man, I feel like I just saw you yesterday.
I know. What is it, 24 hours ago or something? Although Kings Bowl is a little bit more of a fun environment to be in. I mean, they were serving alcohol. Not that I had any, but they were bowling. They were having there were pool tables.
I played some pool toward the end of the night. Yeah, it did pretty well. Wish it was for money. And speaking of alcohol, Dan Mandis, for the first time in his radio career, drank alcohol while broadcasting.
Really?
And he was very, very concerned about it.
And you still haven't done that for the first time in your career, have you?
I would never.
That would be unprofessional.
No, never. Not me. Not me. Never. No, it was good to see you yesterday. Thank you for stopping by.
Yeah,
it was in your district.
You're in the district. I got to welcome Super Talk. That's a big deal.
It was a lot of fun. And Kings Bowl, if y'all have never been, it's a great facility.
It's a really, really cool facility.
So you are here because of the big news that dropped this morning. Just tell us where you were and what you were doing when the news dropped there, Jack.
Well, the thing is, the Supreme Court does not tell you when they're going to release decisions, when they're going to release opinions. You kind of have an idea. We kind of felt like it'd be mid to late June, just because that's historically whenever. But they do whatever they want. They're the Supreme Court, so they're kind of have their own rules. So I was in a meeting at the Capitol today, actually meeting with some young conservatives through a mentoring kind of program, and we're having a great conversation. And my phone starts vibrating in my pocket, and then it vibrates again, and then again and again. And of course, my immediate thought is, is there a problem? You know, my family, my wife trying to get a hold of me, or one of my kids or something. But I look at it, and I saw all these text messages. We won 6-3. Congratulations, 6-3, huge victory. And I thought, we must have gotten a decision today.
Some pretty big names dropping those texts too, right?
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
I don't want to name drop, but yeah, the Attorney General
when the governor's hitting you up,
the governor's texting you and that type of thing. So, but just couldn't be more excited. It's been a journey, and thank you. You've let me kind of share this journey for the last 2.5 years. Can you believe? I mean, it's been 2.5 years we've been on this journey, and it finally culminated today.
Well, it's one of those. It's almost kind of like a sibling rivalry where I love my brother in what we do, Matt Walsh. I wish that I had gotten this information. I mean, he is the one that had the influence and had the connections to break I don't think any of us really fully understood what was going on in Nashville, but kudos and credit to him.
Absolutely.
For getting this information, understanding what he was seeing.
Yes.
And then understanding what to do with it.
Absolutely.
And making the rest of us aware of what was going on. And then immediately the General Assembly jumped into action.
We did. Yeah. He reached out to Leader Lamberth and myself and told us before he had released it publicly and said, I think we need to do something about this. And that led to legislation being drafted, working with the Attorney General, and we passed it, and the governor signed it, and then President Biden sued us, his Department of Justice, and we went through the court system. And on December 4th of last year, it's hard to believe it's been 6 months. Then when I'm looking prospectively, I think, we got to wait 6 months until we get this decision. Right. It seems like it's flown by, and here we are 6 months later, and we got the decision. So very proud to have had the opportunity to sponsor it. A great team effort by my colleagues in the General Assembly, passing good policy, but also recognizing it. Yes, we're going to protect kids, and that's very important, but we're also setting a legal precedent that will be in place for generations to come based on the Supreme Court decision.
Well, and a lot of places that you can go with this now that legal precedent has been laid down, and we're going to talk more with Attorney General Skrmetti about that. We'll talk to your colleague in the House in the 4 o'clock hour, William Lamberth, about their role in all of this. But I want to, based on how some in mainstream media have reacted to this, I want to make a couple of things clear, because I think I know you well enough to know your heart and where your mindset is. The same with William Lamberth, and really, with everybody involved in this process. You don't take any. You take very seriously, tell me if I'm wrong, the idea of the state having a role in a parental doctor-based decision. And every step of the way, you've expressed to me that that's a very serious step for the state to take, and you took it very seriously with regard to the rights of the minor child.
Exactly. There are those out there who are trying to call us hypocrites because we talk about parental rights. And I'm a huge advocate for parental rights. Parents should decide how they raise their kids. We had that whole conversation about school choice. I won't get back into it, about parents being able to choose educational opportunities for the kids. Many examples of that. The state has a compelling state interest in certain drastic situations to intervene. If a child is being abused in a home or being starved or not getting appropriate medical care that they need, I think we would all agree that the state has a right and, dare I say, an obligation to intervene in the interest of that child. It's rare, thank God, it's rare, but it does happen. And so the question is, does this issue where you have a doctor who is prescribing removing body parts or pumping chemicals into a child's body when they're 13, 14 years old that are going to delay normal development of their body because they're struggling with gender identity? And that's the policy question. And we did take it very seriously. And we conferred with lots of doctors. We looked at what's happening in Europe, and we took it very seriously. But where I arrived, and obviously the majority of my colleagues in the General Assembly arrived, is yes, this warrants intervention. We shouldn't be doing things that are irreparable to a child's body. And the court said today, with their opinion, that yes, states have a right to make that decision. The court didn't ban these procedures in all 50 states. The court said states have a right via their elected officials to make policy determinations.
Well, because it's a reflection of the will of the people in that individual state.
That's exactly right.
They elected you. You made these decisions. And by the way, if the people don't care for these decisions,
they can vote us out.
They can vote you out and vote somebody else in. But here's the deal. I know very well that the people do agree with these decisions.
Overwhelmingly. Democrats, independents, Republicans. I've seen scientific polling on it. I've certainly got anecdotal. I've had town halls, just talking to people. You get a sense when you do what I do of where your electorate, your constituents, they're my bosses. That's who I work for. And you know where they are. And it's 80%, if not more, in support of this legislation.
Well, and some of the commentators, nationally in particular, but even locally, and the local people bother me more because they talk to you. They interview you, and I'm talking about media types that are characterizing the callous nature of the Tennessee General Assembly and how cold-hearted you are toward these young people that are struggling. Every time you've spoken on this matter, at least that I've seen, you've brought up the fact that you feel for these parents, you feel for these kids, you understand that there are genuine issues that are going on. This is simply not a solution for those issues, especially at that time of their lives.
That's exactly right. We had a press conference earlier with General Scarametti and Leader Lamberth and myself, and was asked a question by one of the reporters, and the reporter was quoting one of our Democratic colleagues that says, is another bill attacking kids or attacking trans kids or something like that. And I was very quick to step up and say, you use the word attack, I use the word protect. And when a child is making decisions, even with the consent of their parents and a doctor, to make irreversible changes to their body, that's not attacking. If you say, we don't think you ought to do that, maybe you disagree, but don't accuse me of attacking a child. I think we're protecting children in this particular instance. And yes, you're right. Leader Lamberth said, I know he's going to be on later, but I'm going to steal one of his lines. He said, we're all recovering teenagers. And for some kids, that's a tougher time than for others. And the development of body and puberty and hormonal changes and all that. These issues are very real, and we should love those kids that are going through it and get them the mental health treatment that they need. But let's don't let them make a decision they can't undo.
So for those maybe just trying to catch up, just your, 50-word or less interpretation as to what the bill did and what is now, as determined by the United States Supreme Court, the law in the state of Tennessee. It's pretty straightforward to me, but just describe it to the folks who may be just catching up.
Sure. So what we did in statute is we added to a list of prohibited medical practices. Okay. There are prohibited medical practices in statute, things that the law says you cannot do. We added to that list that you cannot perform surgery on a child's body, removing body parts, for purposes of treating gender dysphoria. Furthermore, you cannot prescribe hormone blockers, or cross-sex hormones, puberty blockers, things that alter or delay or change the development of an otherwise healthy child's body for the purposes of treating gender dysphoria. I'm always quick to say there are other medical conditions for which those drugs are properly used. We didn't affect any of that. But when you have an otherwise healthy child's body who is suffering from gender dysphoria, you cannot utilize these treatments because, again, they have irreversible consequences on that child's body.
It's a big day for families in the state of Tennessee. For those who might be looking at this from a different perspective, maybe they're closely affected by it because they have some family member, a child or a loved one that might be going through this. What do you say to them? Because there are some that, many across the aisle in the General Assembly that are wagging their finger at you saying, you don't care about any of those people. I know different. What do you say to those people today?
So a lot of the time, a lot of the opponents of this legislation will say, and I've even had parents tell me this, that not for these types of treatments that they fear suicide or that their son or daughter could be suicidal. That's something we should take very seriously. I mean, that's a very, very serious situation. But if you look at the data and you talk to medical professionals and you look at what's happening in Western Europe, who were years ahead of us in terms of utilizing these treatments, there is no change. And in fact, in some instances, suicide rates go up for those who have gone through these treatments. So what I say to those families, and I know some of them are mad and didn't want us to pass this legislation, and they were hoping the Supreme Court would overturn it. Let's all agree that we love these kids, right? I mean, let's just agree with that I don't hate your kids. I hope you don't hate my kids. My kids aren't perfect. We all love our kids. And let's figure out how to get them through this difficult time. And like getting a tattoo or joining the military or being eligible to vote, when you turn 18, you're recognized as an adult. And if you want to have these treatments done or have these surgeries done, you can do it. But we have an obligation as a state to intervene and protect these kids when they're minors and they're not recognized as being an adult. So let's don't call each other names. Let's don't make false accusations about people not caring about kids. We all care about our kids. And let's try to do what's best for them.
And finally, the ramifications nationwide. I mean, ultimately, and I don't really have an opinion on it, haven't thought about it that deeply, but based on this decision, this could lead to some decision making in Congress in terms of what Congress might want to do nationwide on this issue.
That's exactly right. And we're up to 20-something states, I think 25 or 26 states who have passed some version of this legislation. Tennessee was one of the first. And some states passed it before we did, but theirs got enjoined and did not withstand constitutional scrutiny. So I'm very proud of our Attorney General helped us craft this bill that made it through and was affirmed by the Supreme Court. So now other states can utilize the model that we created in Tennessee if they wish to pursue it as well. And there have been discussions at the federal level. We'll see how that shakes out. I would love to see a national ban, but in the interim, at least kids in Tennessee are protected.
Senator Jack Johnson, thank you so much for everything you do for the state, and thank you for stopping by and giving us your thoughts on this incredible victory at the Supreme Court level.
Big day for Tennessee, big day for America.
There's Senator Jack Johnson. We'll speak with William Lamberth coming up in the 4 o'clock hour and the 5 o'clock hour. AG Jonathan Skrmetti. It's 54 after on Super Talk.
Matt Murphy gets you home.
That is a fact.
But if you're working late, you can get
The Matt Murphy Show anytime.
Everyone's welcome to subscribe on their favorite podcast platform. Even you. And even if you're a pollster.
I love every single one of you. Some a little more than others.
Available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Super Talk.